All right, guys. Good morning. This is our homework for tonight. It's to do questions 26 through 30 in your study guide. And make sure you guys are working on and thinking about your essay. We're going to do it a little bit differently, and I'm going to tell you about it on our review on Thursday. But it would definitely behoove you, in other words, it'd be a good idea for you guys to start looking at writing out your thesis, writing your intro. So at least those things were done and ready to go before you guys took your test. So if you haven't thought of it, you need to start thinking about it. So please do that soon. All right, so today we're going to do some notes and try to get us closer to the end of these notes. So the last thing we left off on was the Volstead Act, which actually made it illegal now to drink and actually put enforcement in place so that if you did get caught drinking, you actually could go to jail. Before that, the 18th Amendment did not have that, so the Volstead Act was really important to do that. All right, so coming down to after talking about the Volstead Act, in cities, it was rarely enforced to not drink. So in cities, it was rarely enforced. But in the countryside, it was almost always enforced whenever you were caught drinking. But in the city, not so much. The second point is this. Politicians that opposed prohibition, so they were against prohibition, were called wets. All right. So if you were against putting people in jail for drinking, you were called a wet. Those politicians, though, that supported, prohibition were called dries. So if you were a person that was against prohibition, you were called a wet. If you supported prohibition and you wanted to see people go to jail because they were drinking, you were called a dry. So that was the name of politicians, wets and dries. Bootleggers become very organized. So people that are bringing alcohol become very organized. At first, bootleggers were individuals that produced just very small amounts or quantities of alcohol. So at first, bootleggers were individuals that produced small quantities of alcohol. And one of the reasons why they were called bootleggers was that what they would do is they would take the alcohol that they made, they'd roll up their pants, and in their boots, they'd stick the alcohol in their boots. And then when someone wanted a drink, they would pull the alcohol out of their boot and let them have a drink, and then they paid them for the alcohol. So that's where they got the name bootlegger from. Over time, though, bootleggers will set up a very elaborate distilleries or elaborate smuggling operations to meet a growing demand for alcohol. Eventually, organized criminals from Sicily and southern Italy will take over most of the bootlegging. Turf wars, though, will break out with these individuals, and it's between 5 crime families. The 5 Italian crime families results in some violent street wars, which would include Tommy guns, which are fully automatic weapons, shotguns, and even grenades were used. Speakeasies will be found throughout the major cities. Speakeasies will be found throughout the major cities to provide alcohol and other sinful pleasures like prostitution, gambling, and even drug use. So speakeasies will be found throughout major cities to provide alcohol and other sinful pleasures like prostitution, gambling, and even drug use. Now, You might say, well, it sounds pretty horrible having prohibition. But what you don't get to hear a lot is that there were some positive results of prohibition. One of the biggest was this: spousal and child abuse have severe, steep drops in their occurrence. More and more women and kids aren't getting beat by their drunk fathers anymore because their fathers have to be sober now. So moms and kids don't have to worry about getting beaten by their drunk dad. So that was one really big one. Another one was work absenteeism. Work absenteeism drops drastically. To this day, the number one reason why people don't show up for work on Monday is because supposedly they're sick. But most know that the real reason why they're not showing up on Monday is they're still hungover from all their partying that they did on the weekend. So alcohol is now with no alcohol, people are not being absent from work as much. Another thing that happens, workplace accidents are reduced. Workplace accidents are reduced as well. So now people, as they're using saws, don't accidentally cut off their finger or accidentally cut off their hand because they're not drunk. Unfortunately, most of this information goes underreported and is overshadowed by all the violence of the organized criminals, the mafia, and all these southern Italian and Sicilian crime bosses. So that gets all kind of glossed over. Now, coming back to secularization. Once again, secularization is our move away from God as the authority and moving man in his place. Fundamentalism is a response then to the decline of the church. Fundamentalism is a response to the decline of the church. Fundamentalism is the pursuit of traditional Christian ideas. Now, the blank fundamentalists believed that Jesus is who he said he was. Fundamentalists believe that Jesus is who he said he was, that God inspired the writing of the Bible, that there are no errors in the Bible, and the Bible is the final authority of truth. So fundamentalists believed, number one, that Jesus is who he said he was. Number two, that God inspired the writing of the Bible. Number three, that there are no errors in the Bible. And number four, the Bible is the final authority on all truth. These are what a fundamentalist believes in. If you believe in these things, you're a fundamentalist. All right, that's fundamentalism at its base. Those are the key things that you have to have in order to be a fundamentalist. All right. Hopefully you got all this down. Hopefully you're going to be working on questions 26 through 30. Remember, tomorrow, you're going to be turning in questions 21 through 35. All right? And remember, the test is on Friday. So we got a lot to do between now and Friday. So make sure you're staying caught up. If you're not on question 30 by tonight, you need to get there. And you really need to start looking at that essay question. All right? And be ready for that. All right. Have a good day, guys. You enjoy yourselves. Have fun. Learn. And be amazing. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.